Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Episode 200, December 5th. I say that because it's the 200th episode, and it has been nearly 4 years to the calendar date of the birth of this podcast. I mean, if you do the math, right? 52 weeks in a year. This podcast comes out weekly, so we're at 200 right now. So we need 8 more to make it 4 years on the dot. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it is already December. The first episode of December this year, which is already crazy because you have to look at December not only as the Christmas month, jolly holly Christmas month, but the final month of the year. I think a lot of people kind of forget about that sometimes, that we kind of get swept up in the holiday season, holiday spirit. Like, oh, Thanksgiving, and then now Christmas, but we have to remember that, oh, wait, it is the end of the year, and we're going to start new just not even a month from now, less than a month. Isn't that wild? That's just absolutely wild to me. Like, it's already going to start over again. Crazy. You know, when a new year comes, you feel refreshed. Like spiritually, you feel kind of like refreshed and born in a way, even though you haven't been reborn or even refreshed. But you get that sense of starting over, which I think a lot of people get, including myself. I think that when a new year begins, you want to do something different, do something new, create a new habit, something like that. We're not there quite yet, obviously, but you can kind of start playing in your mind like what you want to do different next year, what do you want to improve on, what do you want to do more of, what do you want to do less of, to improve your overall self and your overall character. And what do you think how can you challenge yourself in the coming new year? I mean, it's already going to be 2025 in less than a month. We got to start thinking right now, like, what are we going to do differently about ourselves and what we're going to do differently in the new year. Now, of course, we still got to wait, right? We still got Christmas coming up, which is, what is it? It's about 21 days away until Christmas. So we have a lot to worry about in such little time. And also, you know, this time of year also for me also seems to go by a lot quicker, like so much faster than any other time of year. One, because you're kind of looking forward to it, right? You're looking forward to the Christmas season, the season of giving, having fun, being with family and friends, planning things, planning events, get-togethers, gatherings, whatever you call them. And just that, in a way, makes time go by a lot quicker because the anticipation, the build up to the events that you're going to attend or go to is, it just feels like you're in like constant countdown and waiting mode, you know? Like I told you guys last week, I'll be heading to Disneyland in next week, like towards the end of next week, I'll be heading to Disneyland. So that'll be fun as well. And I'm counting down to that as well. And, you know, with that countdown already started, that just means my month is going to go by so much quicker. And I realized that within this month, the span of the 6 days the 4 days that we've already experienced of this month, 5 days, sorry, I've noticed that I also need to do a lot of things. I need to do shopping still for gifts. I did a little bit of Black Friday shopping, got a couple deals for the gifts I was going to give to my family. But not a whole lot, I'll be honest, and not a whole lot of things that I saw that I even wanted myself. Sometimes, if I'm feeling like I want to like treat myself, I guess, and buy myself something cool, I'll do it. But honestly, I'm at the point in my life, and I've said this before, where I have everything that I want. Everything that I want materialistically wise, I already have it, and I don't need a new one. So why buy myself something that I already have? That works perfectly fine. I think I don't know if I told you guys, but there was like a sale that I saw for like AirPods that was like $150 something. They're normally $250. And I was like, that, I could buy a new set of AirPods, and get a fresh brand new set. But mine work fine right now. They work really good. So why would I do that, It's just like the things like, do I need it or do I want it? Most of the time when you buy stuff like this, you just want it and you don't really need it. I'm going to wait until I actually need it. Now, of course, it's probably not going to be on a sale when I need it, which is unfortunate, but it won't feel as like I'm in a way wasting money, if that makes any sense. So I think that when this time comes around, you kind of think to yourself, and you're like looking at it like, I want this and I want that, but do I need it? Absolutely not. I was looking at a new monitor, like a new monitor for my desk. And I was like, the one I have, it works perfectly fine. But I saw one that was curved and a little bit bigger, and it was on sale. I'm like, this monitor is sick. It could be really cool. But then I looked at, I stepped back and I looked at what I had, and I'm like, this ain't going to fit on my desk. Like, this monitor is just too big and it will not fit. So I decided in that moment, like, it'd be really cool, really, really cool to have this monitor, but I'm going to have to pass on it. And it was actually easier than I thought to pass on this monitor. Like, a lot easier than I thought. Because I turned on the one I have right now, played a few games, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need the new monitor. I don't need it. It's just going to be too big, waste of money. Like, this one still works absolutely perfectly fine. The base on it that it stands on is not too big. Like, this one that I saw had like a giant ass base for some reason. Like, it was going to take up way too much space. I don't need this monitor. The one that I have is perfectly fine. And it wound up being one of the better decisions that I made in the past, like, few months, in terms of buying or not buying things that I need/want. Mainly the things that we buy are just because we want. We need food, right? Like, we need to eat. We need food and drink. That is a necessity, sure, right? We need that. We need to buy that. We come across more things that we want to buy than what we need to buy. I wanted a new coffee mug because the one I have is older. I still love it, but I wanted one that was a little bit more neutral, because I have one right now that's a LA Dodgers one, which I love, but I was thinking to myself, like, I want just like a regular coffee mug. So I bought one. It wasn't very expensive. It was like maybe $5 or $4, right? It wasn't that bad. And I started using it. I'm like, this is cool. This is a nice plain mug. After the Dodgers won the World Series, I was like, you know what? I want to go back to my Dodgers mug. And I've been using that ever since. Like, and actually, you know what? This Dodgers mug is so much better than the plain mug that I bought that I haven't wanted to go back to it since. So, in a way, the want, what for me, wanting a plain mug for coffee and nothing on it, kind of backfired, because I just went back to my Dodgers mug, and I'm using that right now, and it's a better mug. So in a way, I kind of lost that financial battle with wanting a plain mug versus, the one I have being perfectly fine the way it is. But, that's life. You win some, you lose some. In this case, I lost big time. Wanting to go back to the benchmark that is 200 episodes. I took some notes, and I documented some things that happened during the podcast's conception, or during its lifespan and its current lifespan, and what has happened during the lifespan of this podcast. And, just kind of going a trip down memory lane. I mean, it is 200 episodes, so it's a big landmark in this podcast's history. It's almost 4 years old, so I figure why not gotta go down a trip down memory lane and see what we experienced as a podcast during this time of 200 episodes. If you think about it, each podcast episode is at least 1 hour long. So, some have gone a lot longer than that. Some have barely made it to an hour. Some have gone a little bit over. But every episode has gone at least 1 hour of me talking into a microphone. So if you do the math, that's already 200 hours, plus any remaining leftover minutes, which is going to be about, I don't know, a total like maybe about 5 or 6 hours over in terms of like minutes, maybe more, maybe less, I'm not too sure. But that's a lot of hours that I put into this over the past almost 4 years. Now it's only, it's a weekly podcast, so you're thinking like, well, you're doing it for 4 years, only 200 episodes. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I got other things I got to do. It's hard sometimes to get a podcast in. I've been in a pinch sometimes where I had to do a podcast, in quite the pinch, in a quick situation. Like, got to get it done, because I love the people and I love the fans, and I enjoy putting out content and putting out my opinion and my takes on these things that come out where I think that I have a definitive opinion and they do not. Now that's just my thought process, but I think that if anybody has a soul or a heartbeat, they would feel the same way. If they had a brain, they would feel the same way. Your opinion matters. And honestly, if you're looking at it from your perspective and how you view things, your opinion is the one that truly makes a difference. And you can put that out into the zeitgeist of, talking points, and that's how people, in society interact with each other and how they communicate with each other with differing opinions. And this has been a great outlook, or platform, I should say, for myself that I truly love doing. In the span of 200 episodes, in a span of the 200 episodes that I've been recording on this podcast, the Rams and the Dodgers have won a Super Bowl and a World Series in this span of the podcast. I mean, for both my teams to recently win a championship in their respected sports. Sorry about the noise in the background. There's a landscaping going on. There really is no better feeling in the world as a sports fan to have recency championship happen in your life. It is quite beautiful. The Rams and the Dodgers, like I said, have been crowned world champions in the lifespan of this podcast so far, and it does feel good. I do still enjoy rocking the Rams championship gear from time to time. The new Dodgers one that I just purchased, I rock it very, very recently, frequently, I should say. There's nothing better as a sports fan to have a recency championship that you can remember where you were and remember how you felt in that moment. And I remember when the Dodgers won it against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Oh man, I was the emotions that poured out of me as soon as that final strike was recorded. Oh man, I was so elated. I was so happy, full of joy. I was like, yes. And I looked up at the sky, or up, and I just kind of like closed my eyes, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh my God. Like that season was like a roller coaster of a season in a way, because we weren't that great during like the regular season. We weren't like the invincible teams like we were in the past, but we were a really good team. And as the playoffs went on, we got hot. We were rolling, and I noticed that the team just seemed more complete than any other team that we faced. Whether it was the Padres, or the Mets, and even the Yankees, like we were just a more complete team than anybody else, and it showed. And we capitalized when we needed to. And man, did it feel good to actually win a World Series. I mean, with the it was incredible. I mean, like I'm never gonna let that one go for sure. 2021 was a little bit of a mixed bag for me. Yes, we won it. It was a shortened season. It was like 60 games. It was in a controlled environment in Texas. It was weird. It was COVID. It was just odd, A lot of people like to look back on it now, calling it a Mickey Mouse championship, and I respectfully, accept those criticisms, and I sort of, in a way, kind of criticize it myself. But you know what? This one, to me, the 2024 World Series championship, that one to me is the one where I'm like, oh my God, yes. This one just feels good. A whole season went through it, battling through injuries, getting Shohei Ohtani. It was just, as a fan of the Dodgers, it was incredible to experience that entire thing. And also with the Rams too, back then in 2022, it was incredible as well. I remember, or was it 2021? I can't remember. It was just an incredible run. Beating the 49ers, beating the Buccaneers, all the way up into beating the Bengals, and it was just like, this is amazing. Matthew Stafford winning a championship, like, it was just an incredible thing to witness. And as a Rams fan, that was my first year being a Rams fan. And not because they were good, I didn't pick them like before they won the Super Bowl. I had picked them, before the championship season even started. I'm pretty sure that's documented, in a podcast somewhere. But that also was just an incredible experience. Two experiences as a sports fan, and I, you guys know that I love watching sports, so that was also something that I think that was, awesome to experience. There's been a lot more development on the UFO news in the past years of this podcast than I can remember. There's been a lot of episodes in this podcast that have covered the UFO or UAP, whatever you want to call it, exposing of the government and revealing the information that we all want to know. Are we alone in the universe? And that has been, been coming out, ever so often, and it has been a roller coaster of emotions and, information that's been coming out from David Fravor, David Grush, Ryan Graves. These are all pilots and military personnel that have experienced and seen UFO stuff and have heard stories from other service people that have seen these things, to most recently with Lou Elizondo, essentially saying that we have these craft, the U.S. government has a craft, and that there is a program to back engineer and study this craft that has crashed on the Earth, and we have been recovering this craft for a long time. That most recent one, that was like maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, that came out. That one to me was like the one where we're like, oh shit, like it's all pretty much confirmed and true. Like, these things exist, these things are real, and we are actually in the process of trying to figure out what these are. And man, oh man, like, that to me, that whole UFO arc that happened during this run of my podcast has been a constant through line of like me keeping up with it. Not necessarily as much as I probably should have, but like when the big stuff was being announced, I was there to give my opinion on it. And my opinion still has not changed. Like, honestly, the news of this, the UFO stuff, not being alone in the universe should be the most talked about thing still to this day. Because, like, I understand, like, there's so much celebrity drama going around. There's so much sports stuff happening. There's politics and all that. Pop culture shit, all that stuff that goes around. But honestly, like, if you really think about it, like, the fact that these are real, the fact that these are pretty much, we're confirming that we are not alone. Whatever it is out there is real, and that we have this technology and that we have been trying to back engineer it is really like, wow, how the heck, how the hell are we not just losing our minds over all this? How are we not like, just like totally like, going insane because this news is so, it's pretty much being confirmed, like, by this guy who I don't know personally. A lot of people don't know this guy, but if you watch this guy speak on this and if you watch this guy talk about it, he does not seem like he's bullshitting. He seems like he's totally telling the truth and totally genuine about all this that has happened. Everything that's happened in this UFO UAP news cycle, and it's only going to be a matter of time to when we get like a confirmation that whatever is piloting these things is either organic life form or is being like controlled by somewhere else, and we can like that we can if we truly are like fully on dissecting and back engineering this craft, that we can figure out like where exactly this came from, whether or not it's actually from another planet, light years away, another dimension, under the ocean, even, like wherever these come from, we got to find out. And I hope within the next cycle and within the coming years of this podcast, I will be able to see it, document it, my reactions, my opinions, my concerns, and hopefully in my lifetime, if it is true and if they are real, that we will see the aliens that I believe are piloting these things. Wouldn't that be incredible? Would that be incredible for us to be in the lifetime that we can confirm that there are aliens out there and that they're either living among us, that we just can't see them, or like they're being hidden from us. Like the US government is doing like a sweep like daily of things that look like very suspicious in the skies, and we're able to sweep them up before people actually see them. And these little, these few sightings here or there are the ones that slip through the government sweep of our skies, and these ones have gone through, and it's causing hysteria and concerns. And the government can't talk about it because they're in the process of sweeping the entire skies and seas of these things, and cannot admit that, hey, one got through and we messed up. Would that be crazy? That would actually blow my mind if like the military and the government had like this program all along for this many years to keep the skies as clean as possible of these objects. That way we don't see them. That way we think that we are in basically a fairy tale land where nothing's going on, and nothing that we there's nothing out of the ordinary that we can't explain what we're seeing. Because when they like update us on these things, and when people talk about these things, there is a discourse, there is a common thread in the common things being said, like, we cannot determine what this is, or we've never seen anything like this, or there's no explanation of what we are seeing. It's like, this is so stupid. Like that's just so silly. Like I straight up don't believe you when you say that, because I feel like somebody of this stature, of this status, and you in your position, and you being high in your position, and having satellites that can take pictures of anything on the planet, on the surface of the planet, in high definition, high quality, and you tell me that you don't see nothing out there, I truly don't believe you when you say that. Like, I just can't believe you. With you having the credentials, the instruments used to take this radar, sonar, whatever the hell you use, right? I don't believe when you say that you don't know what this is. I truly don't believe you. I cannot believe you. So anything that you say like that, I just, in the position that you are, you're trying to cover something up. You're trying to cover it up, and you're not going to fool me. So I think that hopefully in the coming years, I will be able to give my full-on opinion when they actually fully reveal the aliens. I actually kind of hope, in a way, there's been a lot of things that have been circulating the internet since during this podcast to just kind of throw it back again. The Las Vegas incident of these UFOs that landed and aliens stepping out onto the surface of the planet in Las Vegas. If you guys remember that, that was a wild time as well. I mean, I was just perusing X, trying to find anything about this. There was always these videos of like proof, and I'm like, I'm looking, I'm trying, I'm slowing it down, and I can't see shit. And I'm like, I don't see anything. What are you guys talking about? And then there's these interviews with the people that were totally manipulated, and some of them were scrubbed from the internet, and some were just taken down, some were just deleted from X. And it's just like, dude, what the fuck? What's going on here? So that was one that really puzzled me. I think then another recent one was that really just puzzled me was that just kind of like made me think like, well, what the hell's going on? I think it was like New Year 2024, the Miami Mall incident where people were just running for their lives, and like, I mean, it was just crazy. Like 50 like police cars were deployed into this one area of Miami Mall. 50, maybe even more. Just like you saw the videos of just like cops just going down the freeway to that mall, all of them. And it was just like they blocked off the entire block, and like they got everybody out of the mall. They didn't let anybody go through, and it was just like, what the hell? What's going on? Like, for real. People were saying like it was like gang fights. Teenagers had fireworks, but there was no witness testimonies, no witness interviews, nothing. None of that was even put out there. So to me, that was just a whole. I'm a pretty big conspiracy theorist, man. That to me did not seem like it was being told to the truth. That seemed like it was being told falsely. That did not seem truthful at all. And I was just, from the moment I saw that, I was like, ain't no way that's true, bro. Ain't no way that's true. I mean, like, no witness testimony, no witness interview, no witness explanation, nothing on that. It's been a year since that. It's been nearly a year since that even happened, and nothing. I mean, I was looking up that for that information for a long time, and I couldn't find anything on that. So that to me was just wild. I mean, absolutely wild. I still can't believe that even happened, that was actually a thing. But I hope that they're not scary, I hope that the aliens that we actually encounter, when we do encounter them, they're not like creepy and scary and terrifying. I hope that they are like little green men. That'd be kind of cool. They're like just like 3 foot tall little green men, just like walking around on the planet, like now like, can come and go as they please. That'd be, if they were peaceful, right? If they're not peaceful, then get the fuck out. If you want to start an intergalactic war, then sure, we'll square up with you. I will enlist. If there is an alien invasion, I am enlisting in the military. I will suit up, squad up, square up, whatever you want. I will get out there, and I will fight for humanity. No one, and I've said this before on the podcast, nobody loves humanity like I love humanity. Nobody does but me. I mean, maybe Jesus Christ when he was alive, but besides JC, nobody loves humanity like I do. For real, that's a fact. So a lot of news came out during this podcast. We've had 2 Modern Warfare games and 2 Black Ops games since the no, I'm wrong. We've had 2 Modern Warfare games and 1 new Black Ops game. The Black Ops game that was before had come out in 2020 before the podcast started. My bad. We've had 2 Modern Warfares, 1 Black Ops, and 1 Call of Duty Vanguard during the time of this podcast. Safe to say, the Modern Warfare 2, the Vanguard was terrible when it came out. I completely regret buying that fucking game. Still to this day, I bought the game, and within 48 hours of playing that game, campaign, some multiplayer, I'm like, I made a huge mistake. This is totally not worth it, and I cannot believe I bought this game. So that to me was a big, gigantic mistake. One of the biggest wastes of money that I've ever spent on a game in my entire life, if I'm being honest. And if you're around gaming, if you follow gaming, you know that Call of Duty is like a staple of gaming. They put one out every single year, and they continue to make millions and millions of dollars every single year. And it does not seem like the culture is going to go against that and rebel against that. I mean, Call of Duty knows what it is. It is a first-person military shooter that catches your attention every year and then slowly but surely devolves into a pop culture mess where you got people like Squid Game, Nicki Minaj, sharks carrying guns, shooting each other in a multiplayer first-person shooter. It gets me every time. This new game, Black Ops 6, was set in the in like the Gulf War era, the 90s. Pretty cool era of war and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. I still have not played the campaign. Shame on me. I really need to. I've just had no time, but I will play it. But it just, always seems like it just kind of devolves, and it has been doing that for the past, I would say 2 years, where it just devolves into pop culture shit, which I'm not a fan of because it just takes me out of the immersion, if I'm being honest. Like I said, we had 2 Modern Warfares, Modern Warfare 2, which people liked at the beginning and then grew to hate, and then Modern Warfare 3, which people sort of liked at the beginning, and then as it went on, they still kind of liked it, and then it just kind of got stale. Like, I personally was just like over, and I'm a big fan of the Modern Warfare era and series, but I was just kind of over it. I wanted Black Ops. I wanted it, and now that we have it, I don't want it. So honestly, I'm a head case when it comes to Call of Duty, man. I really am. Let's see. Those came out. Halo came out as well in 2021. It rose and it fell, rose again, fell again, then rose again, and then it's right now kind of, I would say, like, I was playing it a couple nights ago and it was actually pretty fun. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, like, Halo, to me, the multiplayer is a very solid multiplayer. Infinite. It's very solid. Throughout its life, though, it started strong and then just kind of like stalled a bit. People got kind of bored of it. Wasn't much added to it. They got tired of the same old maps, same old modes. Now there's a lot of them, but like, it was rough. It had like a rough patch. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. But right now at the moment, Halo Infinite is performing pretty well, I think. It's doing well, I think. I think it's popular in gaming right now. I tend to go to Halo more because I feel like I have more fun in Halo than in Call of Duty. So I think that, Halo, in the span of this podcast, is life. We almost kind of shared the same lifespan. Halo Infinite came out in I believe it was 2021, but let me make sure, because I don't want to be wrong on this. That'd be very embarrassing. Yeah, December 8th, 2021 is when it came out. So we've almost shared the same, lifespan of a game and a podcast. So yeah, I mean, like, it's had its ups and downs, but right now, honestly, I go to that more often than I do to Call of Duty. I think I was playing also Call of Duty like maybe 3 days ago with some buddies, and we played like maybe, I think we played like maybe 7 or 8 matches, and I had fun in absolutely none of them, which was probably a record, for, striking out on having fun in a Call of Duty game, which is sad. And a lot of those matches were played on Nuketown, which is bizarre, but like, it's just like everything about that game just kind of just sucks. Within the span of this podcast, we have seen shows come out. We have seen shows like The Rings of Power and House of the Dragon come out. A Lord of the Rings show and a new Game of Thrones show, which is kind of crazy. We are living in a world where fantasy is kind of just existing. Since the success of Game of Thrones, people, other studios, and other, platforms have tried to capitalize on this so-called fantasy buzz. Fantasy, that's what people want to watch, right? But because Game of Thrones was so successful, like, everybody's trying to make like a kind of like a Game of Thrones copy, including House of the Dragon, which is Game of Thrones. So The Rings of Power exists, House of the Dragon exists. I have not seen season 2 of any of those shows, but if I had to pick one that I wanted to watch, it would be House of the Dragon, because I fundamentally don't agree with The Rings of Power existing in the first place, because it is not fully Tolkien's universe. What I mean by that is they cannot use, say, or have things in the show that are important to the actual world that Tolkien wrote and created because of rights issues. So in my head, when I see Rings of Power, I see Tolkien fan fiction that I'm like, I can't support that. Like, if I'm being honest, I can't watch that. I'm not going to sit around and, you telling me that this is, spoiler alert, that the stranger, who was in the first season, this big dude, big guy who looks like Gandalf, is Gandalf in the wrong period of the timeline in Lord of the Rings and in Tolkien's universe. Like, that is just not going to sit well with me, because it's not true. That is not part of the canon. That is not part of it. Like, you're just making stuff up. And I understand, like, when you make stuff up, like, this is an adaptation, I guess you could say. But it is just not even in the right spot. It's like totally like not even in like where it's all supposed to happen. It's all made up at this point, and it just doesn't make any sense. So, like, them trying to, play it off as like Gandalf and just forget about like the actual stories and when these characters actually arrived in Middle Earth, it's like, I can't let you disrespect it that hard. I can't let you get away with it. I just, it's not going to, I'm not going to be a pushover that easily when it comes to this stuff. I wish I could, but even then, like, if I two people I know, two friends of mine who have seen the show, they like it / don't like it. So it's like, what's the point, really? this show is just going to be like a mixed bag of meh. Why even go through that? Why would I even do that? I watched the first season when it came out. I was super excited for the first season before it even came out. I was one of the guys that was like, this could be pretty good. This looks cool. I'm down for it. It looks gorgeous. And I was singing high praises for the first couple episodes. And then I noticed that the show just doesn't really have a good story. The show doesn't follow characters that anybody cares about. It looks fantastic, but that's about it. And then when you break it down, when you really think about it, like, does it really need to look this good to justify poor storytelling, to poor characters? Like, no. Like, if you really think about it, like, yeah, it looks nice, it looks beautiful, it looks gorgeous. The vistas are cool. The practical effects are awesome. The practical orcs are good. But it's just like, it doesn't seem like it's worth watching because it's not hitting me where I want it to hit it, where I actually care about the characters and what's going on. I don't know. And it's crazy because the show has characters like Elendil, Isildur, and we, at least in the first season, we barely followed those guys. We barely followed them, and it's just like, what are we doing? Well, we're wasting time with Elf, and then his love interest, and then her son, like and boy, mom and boy. Like, I didn't understand that entire plot. I don't know. I just was just like, what the hell are we doing? And then the show got corny. The show got very corny and very generic. Honestly, if I'm remembering this correctly, the episode where the evil is released, I think it's the final episode of the first season. Spoiler alert. This region that is being occupied by orcs and this dark figure, I think his name is Ada. They are, they are like slowly but surely killing the ground, killing the foliage, destroying that part of the earth to make it look like Mordor. There's no trees, no grass, no flowers, nothing. It's just like ash, soot, mud, dirt. It's barren. There's nothing there. Everything's been destroyed. Clouds are starting to form over it, and it's like an evil land, right? It's naturally becoming evil because of what they're doing to the land and killing off all vegetation and everything that's in sight. And what I'm pretty sure I documented, it's in one of the episodes of the podcast, when it actually, there's a moment where it fully turns into Mordor. And the way they do it is they go into this chamber in the area and have a key. I shit you not, a literal evil key. Put it in a lock, twist it, and boom. It unleashes lava. It unleashes evil. Shit erupts. And that's how it becomes Mordor. Once I saw that, I was like, I think I'm out. Like, this to me is corny, cheesy, silly, stupid. Like, I don't think that this is for me. I might be out. And that's why I was like, you know what? I cannot be. This is just too much. I almost wanted to vomit when I saw that. I was almost out. So that show to me, and I haven't seen the second season. Maybe it's better. I don't know. But that part, that entire series exists in just they're deliberately, telling fan fiction. And I just cannot support that. I just can't. For House of the Dragon, it was a good, and by the way, Rings of Power, real quick, for Lord of the Rings, the beginning was pretty strong and the ending was mid. But throughout the middle episodes, I mean, just snooze fest, just wasting time, nothing happening really. Looks gorgeous, and I'm just like, this is just not worth it. This is just not worth it. In terms of House of the Dragon, same thing. First few episodes were good, middle dragged, ending was incredible for that first season. And I don't want to go in like to too much detail because I still haven't seen it yet. I probably won't, but we'll see. But I heard that the second season ends in a pretty bad way. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the hell are we doing here? Why are they making such bad shit out there? Like, why does everything suck now? For real. I haven't seen it yet, but like I'm just like, okay, whatever. I guess like it's a better show. I'd rather watch it over Rings of Power because it doesn't seem like absolute fan fiction. But yeah, everyone was trying to chase that Game of Thrones, lightning in a bottle fantasy. But really, if you really boil it down to Game of Thrones was successful because of the writing and the characters, not necessarily the events. The events were really cool as well, and they were like shiny nuggets, but within that whole, mess. Well, not mess, but surrounding the shiny nuggets was just like characters and stories that you cared about, and the events and the battles and all that lifted it up. But the pillar and the base of all that was the characters and the stories that were intertwining. That was what it was all about, Game of Thrones. And of course the drama and all that was incredible. So really, ultimately, it wasn't a fantasy that they weren't chasing fantasy. They weren't going after they didn't love people didn't love the fantasy aspect of it. They loved the good writing of it and just an overall good story. So it wasn't a fantasy craze. It was a craze of good writing and good storytelling and good characters. That's what people wanted. So when people started to make fantasy shows like The Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, and fucking that stupid ass show The Witcher, which is the worst of them all, they completely just neglected the story and characters and went for the shock value of fantasy battles, fantasy lands, fantasy CGI, dragons, shit like that. Like, no one gives a fuck about that. For real, no one gives a fuck. This podcast also witnessed the birth and the death of the Halo TV series, which I have seen the only 2 seasons that they filmed for that show. This is the worst show that has graced TV that I've actually been a part of to see. I've heard that there's many shows out there that are really bad, that have gone on for too long. But I can tell you this right now. This Halo show was the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life in terms of a TV show. And I was there from start to finish. I punished myself and put myself through this TV show because, one, I had hope. I believed, like the Chief believed, like the Chief installed belief in the humanity to win the war against the Covenant. I believed that it could have been a good show. It was not. It was a bad show from start to finish. And I tried to convince myself that it was a good show for the first season, but ultimately, the show was not what Halo was. The show was something weird, something sort of like a teeny bop, bullshit, drama, scandalistic, weird, all over the place, and rushed. Looks good in some points, looks really bad in other points. Not a real direction, no memorable characters. Just all around not good. And I witnessed the birth and the death of that TV show. And I just gotta say, man, I don't feel bad for it at all. This podcast pretty much reviewed every episode or nearly almost every episode, or gave my thoughts on the premieres and at least the finales of the seasons. I even stayed up late and recorded late to give my opinions on the first episode of a Halo TV show, because that was so hyped up, that was so talked about. That was something that I thought that needed to be recorded, documented, and given my opinion. You could actually find and listen to my opinion and my thoughts on the very first episode of the Halo TV series on this podcast. You can find it and you can see what I thought. And then you can go back in onto this episode. And when I finally conclude the review, when it ended months ago, you can see my opinion. My opinion is still the same as it is from when it ended. This show is bad. It's very, very bad. Should not have happened. And we can now just document, and what we can do is we can learn from our mistakes. Paramount Plus has canceled the show. It will not continue. So they have not renewed it. So technically it can be picked up by another network. My question is, who the hell would do that? Like, are you stupid? Like, why the fuck would you ever pick that shit up? You should not. You should keep it down on the ground, stomp it into the dirt, and bury it. That one. If any studio has the balls to do Halo, you will completely reboot it. Reboot the shit. Reboot it. All new characters, all new cast. Everything is new. Because the more I think about that show, that it even existed, the more I think like, wow, this was a pathetic attempt at something that could have been really, really good. That really had potential, that had it all going for them, that it was all there for them to make something that was really cool. They just pissed it all away and made something incredibly, incredibly stupid that was painful to watch. That I'm thinking to myself, like, who the fuck would want to watch this bullshit? Who the fuck? Halo fans? That's it. Nobody else would want to watch this shit. There's nothing appealing for anybody else that does not know what Halo is would want to watch this crap. So, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? So that happened in this lifespan of the podcast that has not ended yet. You know, I've talked about a lot of bad things. Some good things. How about some good things? This is going to be the fourth holiday season of the podcast where I can say to myself, like, I am happy, I'm blessed to be living in this part of my life, in this time of year, my favorite time of year. That has become my favorite time of year. Before, I think, documented on this podcast, when I started, I was not that much of a Christmas guy. I was only a Thanksgiving guy. Now I'm both. I love Christmas and I love Thanksgiving. I might love Christmas more because Christmas time, this time of year, it makes me so happy. I enjoy the Christmas spirit. The cold weather, the friends, the family, the get-together, it's all beautiful. I love it. Gift giving, it's amazing. I'm in a couple gift exchanges, the Secret Santas, with my friends, with my coworkers. Like, this is a great time of year to be alive. It's fantastic. I really, really love it. And it's the fourth holiday season of this podcast. And I'm just absolutely blessed to be continuing this podcast in episode 200 and really just having fun doing it, you know? So that's some good news that has happened during this podcast and that has continued during this podcast. xDefiant, the so-called quote unquote Call of Duty competitor, first person shooter developed by Ubisoft, is coming to an end. It has been confirmed that Ubisoft will be shutting down all development for xDefiant in 2025. Done. No more. A game that launched like maybe 6 months ago. I can't remember when it came out, but it launched within this year, and has been given up on, has been abandoned by Ubisoft. A lot of people are asking, why was it shut down? Why was it canceled? Why was it given up on? You might think that it was Call of Duty that killed it. Call of Duty did not kill this game. Because let's be very, very honest. Call of Duty was in a very poor and pretty much almost lifeless state when this game came out. Call of Duty was not thriving at all when this game came out. Call of Duty was just kind of there. It was taking up space on people's hard drives. And when xDefiant came out, there was a big burst in buzz over xDefiant because it was a new first-person shooter with Call of Duty like weapons, Call of Duty feel, game modes, kind of like a blend with like Call of Duty and Overwatch, but using like, you know, IPs from Ubisoft as like the operators, like from Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six and a bunch of their other games that they had. And so it had a lot going for it. It was new, fresh, you know, free, also free. On Game Pass, you know, you could play it day one, you'd have to pay shit. So what killed it? xDefiant killed itself. xDefiant committed not alive. How, you may ask? Their game came out pretty shoddy. Not really optimized, not super slick, not super clean, not fluid enough. Hits weren't registering that well. There wasn't many modes to it when it came out. Kind of boring after like a couple hours you played it. Not many modes. You know, when you launch a game like that with like bare content and a short, like, you know, there's a shock value and like people wanting to play it, and people saying, "Oh, it's new." But once you play for a couple hours, maybe let's give it a day or two, right? You play for a day or two. Let's be generous. And you see what it actually is, and it's like what it's, you know, what it has to offer, and you're like, that's it. People are gonna leave, you know, quicker than when they joined, you know. It just wasn't a game that had anything going for it. The content was very sparse at the beginning. It was very scarce, spread out. There wasn't enough that was bringing players back to play it. The gameplay, like I said, it wasn't as crisp and as clean and smooth as Call of Duty. So if you're going to put a game out there that is basically Call of Duty, you have to have it be as good, feel as good, if not better than Call of Duty for people to want to play it more than Call of Duty. That game did not. That game had problems. That game, last time I played it, still just did not feel that great. And then people were like, this is kind of trash. It's like a discounted Call of Duty. It felt like that. It felt like it was just a bargain brand, you know, great value Call of Duty. And people get that sense that the quality just isn't there. That was just kind of put out there to see, you know, try to kill Call of Duty. Even though it was a less superior game than Call of Duty, people were like, no, this is stupid. I don't like Call of Duty, but I'd rather play it than xDefiant. And then that's how they died. You know? I mean, it's just like trying to put something out there that isn't fully up to the standards of what we expect in a first-person shooter. And I know that Call of Duty kind of has a monopoly over that entire genre right now. But if you don't put something out there that is going to compete with Call of Duty in terms of like the way it runs and how fluid it is and how great the gameplay is and feels, you're not going to win. And xDefiant was nowhere even close to Call of Duty in that aspect, and how it felt, how it ran, how it performed, and then the content that it had in it was just not enough. And it didn't update enough. They didn't put enough content quick enough. Operators, classes, guns, whatever, battle passes. It just wasn't enough in time. And how can it be when the game is free on Game Pass? How can it? How can, you know, you compete with something that before you had to buy, spend money to get, and this game comes out free. You know, I just like, you have to use your brain on whether this is going to be successful or not. And what it was going for, to try to kill Call of Duty, try to replace Call of Duty, and it not being able to, and then Ubisoft seeing that it had no shot. It's not a surprise that they canceled it. It really isn't, because nobody played it. It just was something that took up space on your hard drive. It was a Call of Duty copy that is not as good as the original. Even though the original is not that good. Like, Call of Duty is not that great. But it's a lot better than xDefiant. I'd rather have the one that's better and runs better, has more stuff in it, also has a campaign. I mean, just you kind of do the process of elimination. Which one's better? By not that much, Call of Duty is better. So people were like, you know what? I'm sorry. This was a cool attempt. This was fun for a little bit, but it's the same thing as this one. And only truly, we live in a world where, like I said, Call of Duty has monopolized the first-person arcade shooter. You can't beat that. Like, they're more established. They have more content, more modes. They have campaigns. They have a battle royale. Sorry, but it's a no for me. Progression kind of, crosses over between now, at least with multiplayer, zombies, Warzone. xDefiant was just multiplayer. Nothing really much to it. Bare bones, scarce content, poor content drip. That's what happens. They tried to put out something that was not even remotely within the content space or the quality of gameplay on Call of Duty's level, and tried to kill Call of Duty. It's like, going up against an army of tanks and you're just a one-foot soldier. You can't do it. You don't have the resources to do it, to take them on and tackle them. And honestly, what really was the thing that really drove me away from that was just the quality of the game itself. It just did not feel good enough for me to be playing that more than COD. It just wasn't. That was the one for me where I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, this sucks. This game actually sucks. See ya. And it was just that easy. And then that's what happened. Call of Duty did not kill itself. It did not kill xDefiant. xDefiant killed xDefiant. And Ubisoft ultimately killed xDefiant. So don't go crying to me like, Call of Duty killed xDefiant. No. xDefiant killed itself. That's just a fact. And that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Now we'll see you guys next week.